E3. On tonight's episode, we wake up from our E3 binge weekend. How bad is our hangover? Are we still surly? Yes, Zach, I'm looking at you specifically. Plus, Disney wants Mickey to be friends with Mario.
You know what? I'm noticing this is actually really loud all of a sudden. Sorry.
Oh.
I don't know why it suddenly got so loud, but anyway, sorry. Sorry.
Are we streaming on Twitch now?
Yes.
Oh, snap. That's what you get, folks, on Twitch.
You're welcome, Chris, the one person who's watching.
This is how the sausage is made, folks.
Yeah.
Sausage.
All right.
One person watching.
We're good to go in 3, 2, 1.
On tonight's episode,
Take 3.
again.
Take 3.
3,
Yeah, just go.
2, 1. Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 33. On tonight's episode, we wake up from our E3 binge weekend. How bad is our hangover? Are we still surly? Yes, Zach, I am speaking to you specifically. Plus, Disney wants Mickey to be friends with Mario, and Splatoon just keeps building its popularity. All this and so much more. Oh, and by the way, Zachary, birthday boy of the week, could you please cue the music?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Dads podcast. Tonight is June 24th, 2015, and joining me tonight for some post-E3 therapy. Actually, I'm feeling better this week. Justin Masson. What's going on, Justin?
I found a wicked case of grapes in my fridge, and I am just eating them, and they are so good.
Oh, have you ever frozen grapes before? It's like
but now I'm interested.
It's like having little popsicles. Almost. Like, it's just delicious. Speaking of little popsicles as well, joining us is Jesse Waldeck.
And deliciousness.
Jesse Waldeck from VGTribune.com. What's going on, Jesse?
Those transitions get weirder and weirder. I was going to say that we should call this episode the Nintendo Uncles podcast.
Nintendo Uncles? It makes sense to me, man. Absolutely. I don't know if my sister and my brother-in-law listen to this show, but if they do, they just had a baby. I know. You know what? I'm like the nerdy one in my family. I don't know if your family's like this, but I'm like the total nerd, and they're like, oh, we got like real life or something. I don't know. He's gonna be a doctor. He's a bigwig. But no.
You're like, I do this thing on the internet called podcasting.
Yeah, I
like
talk about
radio.
video games.
Nobody listens.
Yeah,
they had a
my
baby
brother
this week,
is a big chemist.
Brandon and Amy,
I'm not sure what he does, but all I know is he has a chemistry degree, and he actually got a job that uses it.
Oh wow, I think that's kind of rare, honestly. Like, at least for people who end up getting a degree like that. Right on, awesome. So yeah, that's to Amy and Brandon. If you are listening, congratulations on your new baby girl. That happened just today. So. Very exciting.
Like 2 hours ago or something like that.
Yeah, like 4 o'clock, like 4:10 or something like that. So it's about 5 hours ago, 5.5 hours, but pretty awesome.
And the kid doesn't have a job yet? Good lord.
I know, like what? It doesn't even have a name yet, really. So it's a baby girl though, so that's pretty exciting. Okay, well we've got tons of news. I actually am thinking that maybe for some of this we have so many pieces, we may need to we may even want to do like rapid fire style for some of it, because we were saying before the show.
Do it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Here, let's, where are we? Let's head into the news. Awesome. I want everybody to notice, by the way, that I didn't botch that bumper this time. It was really good. I'm pretty impressed with myself.
You're getting better. It's only taking you 33 episodes.
I know. I'm actually getting pretty good at this whole podcasting thing. So, we are now post E3 by 1 week, right? We're the week after. It is now a full 8 days since Nintendo hit us with their digital event. And we want to debrief a little bit. Now that we've, E3, there's always the big announcement, but there's always the slow trickle of information as interviews start coming in, and as impressions from different games are coming in. How are you guys feeling compared to where we were, I went back and listened. I like to listen to the episodes just to kind of, critique my own podcasting and just to make sure that we're always trying to make things better around here. But I went back and listened to our episode, and we were pretty like I specifically was fairly upset.
You were surly.
I was pretty surly. There were a couple of times where I was just. And looking back, like I'm like, wow, that like I was really upset about that, and I honestly feel like going back.
You were angry E3 drunk, is what you were.
I really was. No, absolutely, I was, and like especially, looking back now, I feel a lot better about it. I consumed a lot of the the impressions. Went back and looked at the impressions, and I honestly feel like the thing that set me off was the whole like retro saying that they're going to, basically hinting that they're going to do something at E3 and then not showing anything at E3. And what I had built up the hype for versus what was delivered specifically for retro, and the fact that I had convinced myself that it was Metroid Prime 4 or something like that, right? So yeah, how are you guys feeling about it now? Like I'm feeling a lot better about it now, especially since we saw, just as I think as we talk about a lot of this, we can kind of, pull a few of these. There's been a lot of news this week that has been read the headline and that's the news. And so, like specifically talking about Metroid Prime, I'm blanking on the name, but the producer of the Metroid Prime series basically said, yeah, we opted to do a 3DS game instead of a Wii U game. We probably won't have a Metroid Prime game at all until the NX now. So I feel almost like that's like closure. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe it's still coming. It's like, no, it's not coming. And so I can really just embrace this Federation Force as the game it's going to be, which actually seems like it's going to be pretty decent. So anyways, how are you guys feeling about this E3 now that it's completely, past us? Let's start with you, Justin. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think, I would say to the three of us, and again, Zach, much like you, I go back and listen to episodes as well, just to kind of hear what we said and to usually build points to talk about the following week.
And to bask in how awesome we are,
Yeah, I think that's also, we're pretty great. I think out of the three of us, I was probably the more optimistic, but I took it more from a realistic perspective, and I encourage you, I feel like this is therapy, and I encourage both of you, and I encourage our listeners to look at the event not as a digital event, and that was all that Nintendo had, but rather the entire 5 days. So when I look at the approach that way, I feel good about what happened. I think, it's actually interesting, that approach, and I thought I was just crazy. I was listening to another podcast, Reactor Radio, and they were kind of E3 debrief as well, and I was happy to hear that their host kind of said the same thing along the lines of, if you look at the 5-day window, they did really well. So I'm happy with that. What I would say is I did go back. I watched the digital event all the way through. I do agree, Zach, that when we went, and Jess made the point as well, when they went 5 or 6 trailers with no interludes, no communication, just back to back, that you definitely feel that was where it's like either someone ran out of money, time, or something. It was like, oh, just slip a trailer in there. But going back and watching the Treehouse live presentation, and this was the challenge, they were leaning very heavily on the Treehouse presentation. I felt better by the end of it. I actually now believe, and by the way, send your angry tweets to @Masson23 on Twitter, but I actually think that the Metroid Federation Force game doesn't look that bad.
Yeah,
it could be a whole lot of fun.
Did you watch those, by the way? Did you watch Treehouse stuff for that?
Yeah, I did. So I did watch the Blast Ball one, just for the ones they were playing, the four of them together with the developer on the stage.
And he was screaming. He was kind of the main. I think it was JC Rodrigo was the main guy, kind of there, and he was like screaming at the other people, like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it! What are you?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, would you just shut up? If I played with you, I would I would stop playing."
Yeah.
But regardless, it looked like really fun. Regardless of.
But it was also kind of another very interesting thought, and I think that. A couple comments that we're going to bring up in the open discussion in a moment from now is that, it's been admitted there will be no Metroid Prime for the Wii U, but that they want to keep a series like Metroid still alive, as they understand that there are these 5-6 year kind of gaps, that there has to be something in there. And I think good for a developer to take a risk on developing or producing a game that isn't what we want it to be. So I think you know, and yes, there is this. You can basically call this anything else, like, you know, like it's like Doc Brown's Space Adventures, and we'd probably be okay with that. But the moment you use the word Metroid in it, we all evoke this kind of like, hey, what up? So I think that the other interesting part about that is that we kind of have to have faith in Nintendo, right? This is the game. This is a company that you know, a year ago showed us this weird thing with those like paintball squid things, and we were like, "This is freaking ridiculous." And now we all love it and play it. So,
well, and I mean, we know now, like, we have confirmation that Metroid Prime Federation Force is indeed being developed by Next Level Games, which is the same studio that did Luigi's Mansion 2, right? Like, they're relevant, or not relevant. They're, you know, they're competent. They're very good developers. They've made really good games. Like, let's give these guys a chance, and especially like these like petitions going around, like, we don't want this stupid game, and we just want you to stop and make a real game that we wanted. Like, grow up, guys. Come on. This, like, Metroid Prime Federation Force actually does look really cool, and I'll even say briefly, I turned on, what was it? I actually cracked open Metroid Prime Hunters on like Wednesday or Thursday just to kind of play it again and get a good feel for it, you know, and like, okay, is this, like, if we got another one of these, would this really be that bad? And it actually is really fun. Like, I'm still, I think that's actually a really fun game. It probably will be a little bit different than that, but the same sort of art style and whatever. I think it's going to be good. I'm calling it now. It's going to be good. It may not be exactly, you know, Metroid Prime in its greatest form, but I think it's cool too, because it's going to be fleshing out that universe that really hasn't been fleshed out at all thus far. So absolutely. Any other thoughts, Justin, on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that you know, despite Zach, your petitioning, or I guess in spite of your petitioning, Star Fox is moving a little bit higher on my list. Moving out of the maybes into the low end. Okay, we'll think about that one. So it's getting there. You know, I think overall we have a lot of good things to play, but the challenge is we knew a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the hard part. But I'm excited to get my hands on games. I'm excited for Mario Maker. I am excited for Triforce Heroes. I am excited to give Star Fox a bit of a go. Or at least hear somebody else's review before I get by it. You know, I think Federation Force. You know, there's a lot of great indie games. Paper Jam.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
there's a bunch that's out there, and I think we just need to stop whining. And the other interesting part is that Nintendo. We all know Nintendo. Like, in 2 months from now, they're going to have another direct and be like, oh, by the way, there's this other game we didn't tell you about. Right? Like, that's kind of the way the company works sometimes. So. You know, they're, like I said, they're more about parsing out information gradually throughout the entire year as opposed to one big dump in June. So, stop whining, people.
Yeah.
Go play some more Splatoon.
Yeah, it was pretty. I'm excited about it. The Treehouse was great, by the way. I watched actually a ton of the Treehouse stuff last week, and between watching some Super Mario Maker and all of the, you know, I made sure to watch all of the Star Fox stuff. The majority of it is on YouTube now. I watched. Oh, by the way, one of my favorite things to watch was the Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. I know, Jesse, you watched that too, right?
It made me so happy.
How are you feeling about how are you feeling about that game now?
Now that they've seen some of the play, and it is very Persona-like, and I am.
It is so Persona.
I am looking forward to this, and I was going to say I agree with what Justin said, but a lot of the games, you know, in just the digital event, left you hanging and wanting more information, but the Treehouse filled the gap. The problem is most people's E3 coverage stops when the show floor opens up Tuesday morning. So they don't watch the Treehouses. So Nintendo, I think, needs to learn a little bit of a balance. Yeah, sure, keep information in for the treehouse, but give us something.
Yeah, you can't just put a
during your show. This is your press event, even though you're not renting a stage in a theater. This is still your big press event that's comparable to Square Enix's and Sony's and Microsoft's and Bethesda's. People will do that comparison because that's your big presence at that time. So,
yeah, and I think that Nintendo refusing to be compared to everybody else and play their own game. Like, no, that's not doable. That's not like an acceptable strategy, because you need to take into account how everybody else is putting your presentation into context. Right? Like, everybody else is expecting that you're showing your A game, you're putting on some serious presentation here, and not everybody cares about, the Treehouse Live, right? Like, at any given time, I think they probably had about 10 to 15,000 people watching that live stream, I would say, usually when I was on there.
Which is comparable to our Twitch numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo has some work to do to catch up with us, but yeah, for sure. And so I think that they definitely they've learned that lesson too, right? And that's we need to keep in mind. We need to keep in mind too that Nintendo is actually kind of still blazing the trail as far as going 100% digital and those sorts of things. Everybody else is still doing those conferences, and so. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
and I'm fine with them doing the digital events versus renting time on Nokia stage. It's just they just need to learn the balance. Do
you think they do? I heard something this year or this week. I can't remember what podcast it was on, but somebody speculating that next year when they unveil the NX, that they actually will do a stage show again. What do you think?
I think they'll almost have to.
You think so?
I think
wow,
so.
We got a division on that. I feel like they do too. I feel like if they're going to come back and do a stage show again, they do it for the NX.
You know what? No, they don't have to. But
they don't have to. But to actually have Reggie up on stage holding, the NX prototype, could seriously build some major hype for them.
So I do remember when Reggie was discussing when he first stated the name Wii U and kind of why it was Wii U, I kind of went, oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, seriously.
And I was at the Nokia Theater during that event, and that was like, oh no.
Yeah, seriously.
Because literally at the end of that event, I didn't know if this was a new system or a Wii peripheral. I was confused.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see exactly. I think it would be really fun to see Nintendo come back, like the triumphant return of Nintendo to, not that they've ever left E3, but Nintendo returns to E3. You know what I mean? Like, as far as the stage presentations go, I think that'd be really cool.
The other side of that is no cable channels are covering E3 anymore, so it really doesn't matter. Those who are watching it are either there or watching it on a stream. And if both people are going to be watching it on a stream anyway, even if the people are there, then why not just do it digitally?
No, I'll tell you why. Is because unveiling the NX to a stream of nobody versus unveiling the NX to a room full of frantic Nintendo fans who are screaming and cheering when it's unveiled.
That is true.
Is going to have a huge impact on the initial impression of that system. So, whereas otherwise, like, think about like the first time you saw like some random 3D render of the gamepad and it's swirling around and it's whatever, and it's just like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, right? And it's like got some weird techno music with some monotone voiceover guy versus Reggie holding that thing on stage and the crowd going wild. So, I don't know. That's my take on it. I think they'd be smart to do it, but we shall see. Do you want to talk about Shin Megami for a minute? How are you feeling about that? I loved the footage. It looks so good.
Have you played Persona 3 or 4?
I've been playing Persona 4 on the Vita. It seemed like the battles seemed very Persona. A little bit different, but I loved and also the dungeons seemed like there were a little bit more puzzle elements in them.
I like that because the puzzles, the dungeons in the Persona games are generally pretty boring.
It's just like
linear.
walk through this hallway. Yeah. Oh, is there anything in this room? Nope.
They're either linear or just procedurally generated, and so there's not much to it. But they are.
It had like the weird maid suit or whatever.
They're like Nintendo dungeons. It's almost like a Zelda dungeon.
Kind of, yeah.
It's thought out, and I'm looking forward to playing that. Cool. I like how when you're in the overworld, you see the crowd, but you don't see their faces or their distinguishing features. You just see them as a color, a silhouette of color.
As a silhouette,
and then they get their performa.
Performa, which I thought was really funny. It's like persona, performa. It's like, wow, you couldn't have made that any more clear.
So they get their performa drained from them, and then they turn into less colorful people that are just like bleh and don't really want to move much. And so that'll be. And
I thought it was. I loved the sort of concept because we've seen some very clearly Fire Emblem characters, and we've seen like the main protagonists that are like the standard. Like the whatever modern person, and what they revealed in the direct is basically the main character ends up meeting Crom or whoever. They specifically showed like Dark Crom, right? He's like this like really dark person, dark sort of character design, and then the protagonist in battle like kind of takes on the I don't want to say the persona, the performa of Crom or something, and he basically like gets like the sort of Crom gear on, and he fights as Crom,
which is very similar to how Persona 4 worked. You found your dark version of yourself, and then when you defeat it and made happy with it, whatever, then it turned into your persona.
Made peace with your dark side or whatever.
Made peace with yourself. It turned into your persona. This is kind of similar, but with you're meeting this evil Fire Emblem character that you end up defeating and befriending, and then it becomes part of you, and you
so cool.
Take on his characteristics.
And the thing is that this is definitely like I am not the kind of person to buy, a big JRPG, especially for consoles, like a console JRPG that's gonna be a big long meaty experience. Wow.
And even the guy talking even referred it to as not a JRPG but a J-pop
take
RPG.
That one out of context. Yeah, which is so J-pop, it's crazy. But I'm really excited.
And with music having a big part of the game, it makes sense. It's just in the trailer it sounds silly. It sounds very Japanese. But
it's I think it's more it's so much more Japanese than even Persona is. It's the most Japanese. By the way, just in case anybody at home is paying attention, my computer is lagging out, so just be aware of that. It's specifically Audacity. Sometimes it just stops responding, but we may need the audio from the stream. I don't know. Just saying. Moving on. What else do we have as far as these headlines? Anything else for you, Jesse, on how you're feeling about E3?
Did we want to talk about Super Mario Maker?
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
So I went to Best Buy on Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And knowing how previous years went, or I tried to get there like an hour early, and then I still had to sit in the line for an hour and a half to 2 hours before I even got my turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to get there like an hour and a half early, but got delayed and got stuck in traffic. It's because it's rush hour, and there was construction. Anyway, I do get there an hour ahead of time, and I'm looking for the line, and I'm not finding one. I am the first one there.
Wow. Holy cow. I'm not surprised by that at all. And so, did you end up getting to play a bunch of it then?
Yeah, actually, I got 2 turns in. I got the first turn in, and I got to play for like 4 or 5 minutes. Then I went to the back of the line, which was only 15 or 20 people deep. So, in line for about an hour and a half, and I got to play a few more levels. Being that the
didn't they have Triforce Heroes?
Yes, they
there too. By the way,
yes they
I
did.
heard that they were gonna. Okay, they did. Cool.
Yeah, they had they had the.
And
I actually didn't get a chance to play that one.
Oh,
I wanted.
what good are you to us?
I wanted to, but the person I ended up walking past me into the new group of people who joined the line behind me, because they were a group of 3, so it just made sense for them to play it together. So it was like just like in traditional E3 showings, you have the person with the systems tethered to them, so you can't walk off with it. So this person had 3 3DSs attached to her, and handed them out, and they played the demo. But I almost went back there Saturday just to play the Zelda demo, but Saturday was a busy day, and I didn't get a chance to get out. Anyway, but the Mario Maker demo that we had was the exact same demo that they had on the show floor, which had 40 pre-built levels, none of which were the same levels from Sunday night, but they did announce that those World Championship levels will be on cart or on disc when the game launches.
Mm-hmm.
So we will have a chance to play those, and I got to play some of those 40 levels, and I watched others, on YouTube from like Nintendo World Report TV YouTube channel posted a bunch of them up, and Game Explain posted a bunch up. I think my favorite one was the Automatic Mario version 4.
Was that the one that I don't know if I saw? Is that the one that's like don't stop running?
No, but there was one that was don't stop running, but this one is you don't touch the controller at all. It's like
I did see this one, yeah,
like a Rube Goldberg machine, and
it just bounces you around.
It bounces you around, and at the very end it forces you into the clown copter, and then a thwomp drops you onto the flagpole for the win.
That's awesome. I'm so excited for that.
And then there was the Leap of Faith level, which was pretty much one screen where you jumped off a cliff, and you couldn't see what was below you, but when the screen scrolled as you're falling, you see a row full of spikes except for one block, which that's where the flagpole is. So if you don't land perfectly on the flagpole, you'll die.
Oh wow, man, that's so cool. I'm so excited for this. Sweet. I'm really cool. So did you get any cool swag from that too? Or is it like it seems like the Best Buy events are usually like, here's this. I actually do have a Mario Kart 8 lanyard from I think it was the first year they did it.
Most of the swag that was on the table. Or
was it last year?
Say again?
Was it last year they had the Mario Kart 8 lanyards?
Probably 2 years ago.
Or 2 years ago? Okay.
Yeah, because last year was Smash and only Smash. 2 years ago they had
that's right.
4 or 5 games that you could choose from, one of which was Mario Kart 8,
Wind Waker,
one of which
Mario
was
Kart
Wind
8.
Waker, one of which was 3D World.
That's right.
Yeah, so most of the stuff on the table that you could grab looked like promotional materials from last year.
Oh, really?
Like Pokemon X and Y maps. I'm like, no, pass.
Nope.
I did get this Mario 30th anniversary pin. You can't see it.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's super cool.
You can't see it, but I'm showing it to the camera for those on YouTube and Twitch. And I also...
You're welcome, one person.
And they had a limited supply of these Splatoon posters. It was like a 2-sided poster that they said they'll only give them away to people who can beat one of the harder levels. I
think those are the same posters that they were giving away at EB Games, Justin.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
They looked like from the pictures you were posting.
Yeah, so the way the 40 demo levels were set up as World 1 through World 10, and each world had 4 levels in it. So there's your 40 levels. So if you could beat one of the World 9 or World 10 levels, then they gave you a poster. Otherwise, you couldn't take one of those posters, but you could still take anything else on the table.
Cool. Right on, dude. Well, I'm kind of I was thinking of going, and then I was like, it's like 2.5 hours away, and I don't really want to, so I didn't.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't have been worth it. But for me, it was a 35-minute drive.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, let's go through a few quick little headlines as well here, just to kind of round things out. Sort of quick fire style here. Just give your basic sort of. I want you guys to just give me your basic sort of reaction, and then we'll move on. So, no Metroid Prime on Wii U. It's likely going to be on the NX if it's happening at all. What do you guys think? Yay, nay, surprised?
I want a 2D Metroid.
You want 2D Metroid? Justin, what do you think?
Give me Zero Mission.
I'd like it, but I'm not shocked.
I'm not shocked.
I think if we didn't see it, this E3 wasn't going to be shown. So
yeah, I feel like this, like I said before, this kind of gave me closure. Well, okay, fine. This is kind of how I felt about it. Zelda is still going to be for Wii U. It's not going to be moved to the NX.
It didn't say it wasn't going to be on X.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's still going to be for Wii U.
It still could get the Twilight Princess treatment.
Yeah,
but I am excited for this still.
I'm glad that it's still going to be on Wii U.
If it does get a dual console release, I am going to get it on the NX when I buy that versus getting it on the Wii U. But if it isn't, then yep, I still have it on the Wii U.
Cool. Reggie knows that people want a real Metroid game. What do you guys think?
Big surprise.
It's good PR.
Surprise. What was that?
It's a good PR stance getting in front of it.
Yeah, we know that people want a real one.
And I think during that same statement is when he said that we know we can't put out a big AAA title in every franchise every 3 years, but here we can do these spin-offs to keep the franchise, the IP fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we got what we got.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is something that I just remembered that I wanted to clear up. Last week on the show, I made a incorrect statement, and I want to correct myself. We were talking about the Animal Crossing game, the one with the cards, and I made the incorrect statement that the packs only come with one amiibo card, and the rest are not amiibos, or whatever. That the other ones didn't have NFC. I misunderstood, which is good, and I'm glad. I'm surprised that I even thought this. Honestly, I was in a rage.
They're all NFC, right?
They're all NFC cards. The difference being is that there is one special card in each pack. So it comes with 6 cards, and one of them is, if you actually look at the press materials, I think it's the first 15 or so in the series are basically the equivalent of the shiny cards, right? The holographic foil cards or whatever. And those ones, all of the characters that are also being created as figures are part of those. So Isabelle and Tom Nook and those characters are all printed on foil cards, and there is one foil card per pack, and then the rest are just the regular villager cards. And so my prediction, at least, is that you'll be able to look at those foil cards, the line of foil cards, and those are going to be my guess is that those cards you'll be able to play in Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. You won't be able to play with the whole 100 whatever series, but if you end up getting the Amiibo Crossing, right, is what we called it, it will probably only use the foil cards. It won't use all the cards in Amiibo Crossing, but you will be able to use all of them in Happy Home Designer.
So you think the actual Amiibo figures and the foil cards will be swappable between the games?
I think so. I think that
would make sense.
The foil cards, the foil cards are basically card versions of figures, would be my guess. And that also, you can look at some of the ones in there. You can look at some of the foil cards that we know are going to be in that set that have not been announced, and those are likely to be wave 2 of the Animal Crossing figures. Those are characters like Mr. Rossetti and Some of the other, pretty common Animal Crossing cast that has been throughout the games. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the owl from the museum is in there and stuff like that. So
Who?
so that I wanted to correct myself ahead of time. I see what you did there. Yeah. So I think that is interesting, but I think it's also smart, really, for them for Amiibo Crossing on Wii U specifically, that they don't have like a pack of 6 cards and then all of a sudden everybody sits down and can play a game, right? Like you would want to have it so you have to at least buy 4 packs of cards in order to get 4 cards that you can play that game with, if people aren't going to be buying the figures. So anyway, I wanted to clear that up as well. So finally, any other thoughts or comments on that? We have a few more stories here. Splatoon. Justin, why don't you tell us about this one? I know that Splatfest was canceled or postponed, which I was sad about. Team Cat's going to win, by the way.
Team Dog.
Team Cat.
Team Dog. Yeah, so Splatfest was delayed. They found a problem in the Japanese coding, I believe, when they were running it, so they're delaying that a bit. Nothing too huge there. Splatoon continues to be rolling out DLC. This week we got a new weapon. Last week it was a new map and a couple new weapons, as I recall. But the big news, the big news, is that Splatoon in less than a month has sold 1 million copies. So Nintendo put out this press release yesterday afternoon, evening, which is pretty fantastic for them. I think it's just an example of the momentum and the hype that has been put around this game. I know we originally were kind of like, what's going to happen? This is a weird IP, but I think there's just been so much energy and excitement around it, and we're actually seeing in the results of the numbers that we see every single month is actually helping to move consoles as well. So yeah, it's fantastic. I don't know. That's kind of the short of it. Splatoon's selling a lot. So
did I tell you guys the story about my son and I choosing what team we were going to be for Splatfest? Yeah, did I tell that on the show? Okay, it must have been I told no about it. So Nick and I are like sitting in the living room and we're just hanging out, and I notice, oh yeah, there's this Splatfest thing, Nick. Like, me and you need to decide, do we want to be Team Cat or Team Dog? Like, what's the deal? Like, and he sits there for a minute, and I'm like, honestly, whatever, I don't care. I'll let him pick. And he's like, oh, I think we should be Team Cat. So I'm like, okay, and like we select Team Cat, and it asks you as you select your team, are you sure? Because if not, like once you choose, there's no going back. And I'm like, okay, Nick, are you sure Team Cat? Like that's what you want, right? It was like, once we decide, we decide. And he's like, yeah, that's what I want. And so like then he's got like, he likes. I think he's like your daughters too, Justin, where it's like, oh, like between every single match you've got to change your gear. And so he's got his cool new cat shirt on, and he's got like, whatever, and he plays a round or two, and he's like, okay, Dad, like I want the Team Dog shirt now. I'm like, oh, buddy, sorry, like we already picked Team Cat, we can't be Team Dog now. And he was so upset. He's like, oh, really? the tears like welling up in his eyes. He's just like, I really wanted to be Team Dog. And I'm like, oh, it's okay, buddy, Team Cat's awesome. Team Cat's totally gonna win. Don't even worry about it. This is like the best decision. Don't like this sort of like second guessing himself and like, I just wanted to be Team Dog now. I don't want to be Team Cat. It was really funny. So, second guessing himself, a little bit of a remorse. It was really cute. So,
buyer's remorse at 4 years old.
I know, buyer's remorse via Splatoon. So funny. So yeah. Splatoon's rocking it, man. I'm not surprised at all, and for as much hate as Nintendo got over E3, they're killing it. And if you look at the catalog of the 3 systems that are out there currently, Wii U's got it. Wii U is hands down got the best library, and Splatoon is just another mark on that list for sure. So very cool. Finally, 2 stories with Nintendo playing with other companies. First off, I don't think we have a lot here, but Disney and Nintendo are apparently working on something together. Does anybody have any more information on this?
Yeah, let me pull up the doc you're reading here.
Yeah, I actually know nothing about these last 2 stories, so.
Sure. Essentially, there's been rumor or talk of Nintendo maybe playing well with other companies, and Disney has been one that has been batted around. So a article was released out on My Nintendo News. I'm just pulling it up right now. That references some of what could be happening.
Oh, here we go. I've got it here. If you want me to just read off some of these bullet points.
Sure. I think it's a great idea.
So it says Nintendo and Disney have negotiated a deal for films, video games, and interactive toys / merchandise. Amiibo are not included in Disney Infinity 3.0 because both companies are yet to sign an agreement. I think that's interesting. We saw that with Skylanders. It would not surprise me at all if Disney Infinity 4.0 had some Nintendo characters in it on Nintendo platforms. You basically just scan your Amiibo and then Mario's in the game. In fact, I remember when Wreck-It Ralph came out a while ago. This was a couple of years ago now, but for those of you who remember, Bowser is in that game. Like, there's that sort of Bad Guys Anonymous or whatever meeting, and Bowser's in there, and I remember seeing some headlines after that movie came out that they really wanted to have Mario be in the sequel, and so I would not be surprised at all if especially if Mario is in like a new Wreck-It Ralph movie, if he just shows up in the game and be a totally natural addition there.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly, having Disney Pixar, those animation studios create Nintendo movies, I would watch that in an instant. That'd be so cool. Disney wanted to have a Mario figurine in Disney Infinity, but Nintendo hasn't made a deal yet. Mario could star in Disney films such as Wreck-It Ralph 2. There we go. Disney wants a game where Mario and Mickey meet up. Nintendo is open to the idea, but want to set their own pace for it.
Which sounds very much like them.
Yeah, and then we get into some more Amazon stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. But how do you guys feel about the whole Disney and Nintendo crossover?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in my opinion, I was mentioning this before, as Reggie had mentioned at the beginning of the delivery, E3 was about transformation, and I don't think it was just E3 as a transformation, but rather Nintendo as a holistic company transforming. I think, as I mentioned in last week's episode, them diversifying into Universal Studios, Netflix, but we're going to say it's going to be Amazon a couple moments from now. Their agreement with Skylanders, they're I guess they're loosening up their reins on their IPs a little bit, and how they're being used across other functions. I think that's transforming the brand, so I think it is something that they're definitely open to. I think, very much so, though, it's about how they meet those terms on the same level as everything else. So, yeah, I'm not huge shocked by this.
Yeah, how about you, Jesse? Any other thoughts on that?
I'll see just about any animated video game-based movie, and, the better it's made, the happier I'll be.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll still see it if it's garbage, but I'll be gonna grumble about it at the end. But the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
But Wreck-It Ralph was a pleasant surprise. That ended up being better than I thought it was going to be.
Totally.
So yeah, get Mario in there. And I heard rumors that a while back that they wanted to do a full blown Mario Brothers animated movie. Don't remember what studio was behind that, or was it? I don't remember. But if
Sony.
If that's still, it was Sony, yeah. So if that happens, great. As long as it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the last Mario Brothers movie we had.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. I'm also moving on finally to some Android/Amazon news. I think this is interesting too, and of course this is all rumor and speculation stuff, right, folks? Like, we don't know, but I always think it's fun to speculate when these sorts of rumors come up, especially as the sort of new ideas come forward. But Nintendo, basically a few weeks ago, we saw the rumor that the NX is going to be based on Android, and everybody was like, no, that's not going to happen, that's stupid. And this rumor actually has me thinking that there may be this feels like it maybe have a little bit more meat to it, and a little bit more credibility to it, specifically because of what some of the things that Nintendo has already said about the NX. So basically, the rumor is stating here, and I'll just read a few of these things as well. It says Nintendo will not create an Android system, but instead will emulate Android games. It's not something that's confirmed, but just an interpretation of the conversations. And then in brackets it says, think about how BlackBerry is doing it. So for those of you who aren't aware, BlackBerry on some of their phones basically will, even though they're not running Android, they're capable of running Android apps. I don't know how well the BlackBerry phones are doing this, but it would make sense if on the NX, I mean, they've even said in the past that the mobile games and the mobile games and home consoles and handhelds and all of that kind of stuff, all of those will have, there will be the cross compatibility, and those will talk to each other. And so for the NX to actually be able to play mobile games makes a ton of sense to me. And I think they'd be really smart if basically any mobile game can also be played on the NX. They would literally have no lost development cost in those, right? Like there's no lost opportunity. You're also going to have that on your main platform as well. So, I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Jesse or Justin? What do you guys think?
I think it's too soon to tell, but interesting talking points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think it's far too early. Like, we don't know what the NX is exactly. Yeah, I think we need more on that one.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, and so again, there's the rest of these points are similar sort of thing with how the games would be distributed. But I definitely, it has me thinking too about the fact that we don't have any, we haven't heard anything about their membership service that Nintendo has said they were going to talk about. They didn't say they were going to talk about it at E3, but I suspect that sometime within the next month or so that we hear about that. So that would be my guess anyway. Cool.
Probably one of the next two directs, so they'll start talking about
probably, it. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Right after that one with the new Zelda trailer, right?
Right.
Cool. Right.
Oh,
Cool.
I'm willing to bet you the next direct will have a Zelda trailer in it.
You think so? It's probably
I think they had said they had stuff they wanted to show, but they also, on the other hand, didn't want to show anything.
I think they were smart not to do it though, because they would have.
It would have just hyped up our expectations even more. And
even though they took their beating for kind of having a lackluster showing at their digital event, a Zelda trailer would have made everybody forget about every other game that they showed off, and
right.
And so that I think that leaving the spotlight for their less exciting games was probably a smart move. So cool. Let's head into what we've been playing, shall we? All right. So, Jesse, why don't we start off with you this week? What have you been playing this week?
Okay. You mentioned last week that eShop had up to 30% off sale on a lot of titles.
Yeah.
During the E3 week. And while I already had owned a copy of Link Between Worlds, a physical cart, I'm not sure where that ended up because I gave it to my son and it landed in the abyss of his bedroom.
Yeah, nice.
So it was on sale.
Gone forever.
So I picked up a digital copy for myself and started playing through that. And I already got to the part where I have to collect the 7 paintings of the sages, and I've got 2 of them so far. So kind of halfway into the game already after a week of playing it.
Nice.
Then yesterday I tried playing. I played the first hour of the new Batman Arkham Knight on PS4.
Oh, cool! How's that?
It's overall I like it, and I like it. Kind of has a new quest system that lets you pick which of the sub quests you want to work on right away. That helps pick, choose your radar and of where your destination is, so you know where you're going. Like within the first half an hour, you got thrown like 5 subquests that I believe are just completely optional. If you didn't want to do them, you know, that you can pick on their quest wheel, or you can choose the the top option to go to the main, resume the main quest. So, but the thing that's bugging me the most about the game is the driving.
Really, because that's like the new edition, right?
I know, and it's new because it hasn't been in any of the previous Batman games, but it's still trying to drive that fast in a city that packed and with all the curvy roads. I don't know how many buildings I smacked into. You know, I remember last time I tried playing a game that involved a lot of driving was back when I rented Grand Theft Auto 4 when it was new, and the driving experience really hasn't changed much in 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
But so one of the big initial events with the Riddler was he had this underground driving track set up that I had to take 3 laps around his little area and get fast enough, beat a certain time each lap. And of course, the first time through each lap, I couldn't beat his time that he wanted, so I had to do the lap again until I did it. So I ended up going 6 laps around before I could finally leave. I'm so sick of driving right now. And
oh wow,
that's when I quit the game, and I probably will play a little bit more after recording. But
there's a guy that one of the guys at work sent me a video of like did you get like any of the like collector's editions or anything like that?
No.
He ended up getting like this light up batarang that like folds up, and then you like click a button on it and it actually like opens up into like a full batarang that lights up and everything. It's super cool.
Yeah, so I ended up having a little rant last night on Twitter about Twitch, because I streamed my hour of play on Twitch, and one of the early scenes you play as a police officer going into a like a cafe, or not a cafe, but like a Waffle House,
like a diner or something.
A diner, that's the word I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, you order food, and they have music going on in the background. I think that music flagged a copyright notification in Twitch, so the first half
no way.
The first half hour of my video is muted.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
And if I want to put it in appeal, I have to write an email. I'm like, you are a service to let gamers stream their games, and I am streaming a game and nothing else, and then I still get dinged for it. I'm like, screw you.
That's super lame.
So
that's really dumb.
And I noticed that after I start exporting it to YouTube, so I'm like, oh crap! Now I got to go in and set it to private so that doesn't get published yet until I can see what it looks like on the YouTube side, because that's probably going to be muted in the first half hour as well.
At least doesn't YouTube now have a way to trim that, so you can do that on the other end? Anyway.
I know, but it's the whole. It's half the video.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Cool. Well, I have been playing. Sorry, do you have any other ones? Sorry, before I go into that.
Nope, those are the only 2 games I've been playing.
Okay, cool. Well, I also picked up something on the sale. I haven't played a ton of it, but in seeing Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, it reminded me how awesome Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story was, and how much I like that. And Dream Team was on sale on the eShop, and so I actually picked that up and played a little bit of that. I don't have a lot to say about it other than that it's a Mario and Luigi game. It's wordier. Like the intro to that game is a lot wordier than I think I remember the other game being that I played, and also that it's very handholdy to the point where like literally it will stop combat every single time a new mechanic needs to be used for the first time, and will explain it ad nauseum for quite a while. And so I kind of knew that going in, so it doesn't bother me that bad. It's just kind of that, okay, yeah, I know how to jump when the enemy comes to attack me, right? Stuff like that, where like literally she will tell you, okay, now when this enemy comes, you need to jump to dodge the attack, and then the enemy will move towards me, and she'll say freeze, and like it won't let you do it, proceed until you jump. It's like, okay, yeah, I got it. You told me that I needed to jump, and you don't need to stop the fight until I jump. Like, I can just jump. It's okay. And it does let you skip some of it, but it doesn't let you skip all of it. So, I don't know. It's kind of it's a really fun game. It's been really enjoyable. There's a lot of it's funny because there's a lot of build up in the game though. Like, to get to the point where you're actually going around. Trying to go into Luigi's dreams and stuff like that. There's a lot of build up to it, and yeah. Anyway, I'm still kind of getting through it, which it surprised me. You'd think with the Mario and Luigi game that there wouldn't be a lot of backstory, but there's a lot of weird backstory for this island and who are the pillow people and all of that kind of stuff. But it's really fun. I really am enjoying it. I also had on Friday. Justin, I think, mentioned in the intro that I had my birthday on Friday. Yay! And I am no longer a 20-something whatever. I'm now a man of 30 years. So, anyways, on Friday we had a bunch of family over just to hang out, and we got to play 2 multiplayer games that I was like, this is the only chance that I'm going to have to play Runbow with anybody other than myself. So we actually got 4, like we had 4 controllers that we were able to get together, and we played 4-player Runbow. And that game's pretty fun. It's really, I can see how crazy it would be with 9 people. Honestly though, with the people that I had over, not a lot of them are really good at video games, and so what ended up happening was that me and my brother, who are play a lot, would run way ahead of the pack, and then the people who got stuck at who couldn't catch up would just die because they were off the screen, and so it was usually just me and my brother racing to the end of the level. But it was pretty fun. I liked it. I'm interested in it still. I'm waiting to see. Apparently, you can do online multiplayer with this game, and if that's the case, I'm sold. That game, provided that it's not like $20, which I'm not sure how much they've said this game's going to be. But yeah, Runbow, pretty excited. It was pretty fun, and that was the E3 demo that I played. We also played a weird game called, and I don't know if either of you have played this or if you've heard of it, but for the Wii U, it's called Spin the Bottle Bumpy's Party. Have either of you heard of it?
I have heard of it, but
no.
The way that game initially marketed itself when it was new was, it was at one price, maybe $8 maybe. It was kind of cheap, with a small number of mini games, and they promised they were going to add additional content to it through system updates later. But as they do so, they were going to increase the price. So if you got it early, you got it at the cheap, and then you got all the updates for free. Versus,
I think I ended up getting it for like $10 back in the day.
I'm not
Something
sure
like that.
what it costs now. But.
Yeah, and they haven't, honestly, like, other than the initial, like, they had one big update, probably maybe 6 months after it was launched, and that's around the time that I got it. And then I haven't seen any updates for it since. But
it's $12 now.
Is it? Yeah. So basically, how the game works is the TV screen just shows the same thing the entire time that you play. It's just this weird pattern, and it almost turns your gamepad into like a board game, like an interactive board game. You could probably do this game even better on the iPad. In fact, I'm surprised that they haven't ported this game to the iPad if they haven't already. But basically what it does is it's like a sort of board game. So you put everybody's name in, and they choose a character, and you sign your name or whatever, and then you spin, and then it'll be somebody's turn, and you spin the bottle, and the two of you, I guess maybe now that I'm thinking this through the rest of the way, the reason this game wouldn't work on iPad is because it uses Wii remotes as well. But and then that'll kind of give you a mini game that you and another person have to play. And I feel like one of the members of my family, I think it was my sister, was like, this game was really fun, but I feel like if everybody was drinking, this would have been way more fun. Like if everybody was just a little bit tipsy, this game would be hysterical. But like there were things where, for example, like you can have ones where the game is Saw. It's just called Saw, and the two of you each hold a Wii remote in your hand, and the gamepad will make sounds like you're sawing down a tree, and you have to actually hold the Wii remotes out like you're holding a saw together and go back and forth. And if you're not in sync, like if you pull away from each other, then it doesn't work. Like it actually is really good at basically you're miming sawing down a tree, and you have to go fast enough to beat the timer, and then you get like a point, and the first person to get 5 points wins. But there were some games that were a lot weirder than that too. Like one of them was you have to, like one of them is just called Slow Dance, and you just hold a Wii remote in your hand and the two of you dance, and if you end up getting paired with your father-in-law for the game, then that's just how you roll, and the two of you have to dance in front of everybody. And just like really weird things like that. It ended up being a lot of fun though. I really liked it. But at the same time, it was, again, you've got to be the kind of person who can kind of have fun and be ridiculous in front of your family or in front of your friends in order to have play a game like this. And again, I think it intentionally puts you in situations that are uncomfortable. I think one of them was actually called Squeeze the Orange, where you position a Wii remote vertically on a chair between the two of you, and then using your noses only and no hands, you press the A and the B button together, like one person on each side, and you hold those together while the Wii remote vibrates, and you're simulating like, oh, we're squeezing all the juice out of the orange, and the Wii remote's like making this sound the whole time. Like the sound design in the game is great too. But yeah, I honestly, like, me and my son will play it sometimes. Just like, you can play it even just 2-player, but you can play up to like 9 players or 8 players or something, but it's only ever 2 people at a time. So yeah, if that sounds like a sort of, like more of like a game like Twister maybe, that sort of party game that people like to play. If that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, I definitely would suggest checking it out. It was really, really funny. So definitely will lead to some awkward moments. Yeah, I have one more. Justin, do you have anything you want to do, and then I can talk about my last one?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple quick games that I played. Kind of like you, with Rumbo, I tried a couple of the Nindy 9 games. And I tried Freedom Planet from Galaxy Trail. And this is a game that very much feels like it's homage to the Sega Genesis 16-bit era. The very first level you play is so reminiscent of Sonic the Hedgehog, like the level design and everything, and then these power boosts that you have, that I almost was wondering if there was copyright infringement at some points. But it was fun. I don't know if it grabbed me as much, but it felt like, and I only got into the first level, I think it's more than that, but the controls were not too bad, but definitely felt like you were playing. It had a 16-bit feel, that nostalgia, so that was kind of an interesting game. I then also played Extreme Exorcism by Ripstone.
Oh, I forgot I played this. This game, I loved this. I didn't get to play a lot of it. Sorry.
I'm glad you did, because I found it weird.
I only played the intro level. I didn't play the other one. I only
played the intro. I had about 15 minutes with it, and I know we shouldn't be judging a game on 15 minutes, but it was a little bit weird. I don't know if maybe you want to talk about it some more during the rest of your time. But it was an interesting kind of approach to just basically try and survive. Right, it's this kind of weird 8-bit or side-scrolling survival game. So it was interesting. The other things, I played more Splatoon, obviously, and a couple. My wife is now playing Dr. Mario on the 3DS.
Nice.
We downloaded, and she's been playing that now for the last couple nights. She's really enjoying it. has put in. She's trying to play
My
a lot of
wife
people
is
online.
too, by the way. Yeah, my wife is too.
Yeah, and she seems to enjoy it. Actually, I'm going to see if I can try and get her to write a review for it. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to happen, but she seems to be enjoying it. So that's great. Seems to enjoy the changes, so the modifications and changes they made to it. Plus, she enjoys playing people online. So that's awesome. And then kind of a last thing for games. I haven't played it yet, but it was my daughter's. We celebrated their birthday party on the Saturday, and they got some birthday money. And on Sunday, they went out and they together pooled their money together and bought the very first Wii game, and they purchased Wii Dance 2015.
Nice. So are
I think
you
that's
like
done by,
busting a
I
move?
think that's done by Activision. I think so. Activision, you're welcome for the one sale you got.
Are you gonna? Are we gonna see like video footage of Justin doing some dance moves?
We may just there may
Nice.
be existing photo or existing video from a year or two ago when we may or may not have had too much adult bevies during New Year's, and
Nice.
Jody and I may have tried to do the song "The Time of Your Life" from Dirty Dancing, the lift scene at the very end. Did not go well.
Oh my
that's-
gosh, dude.
That's what I've been playing. So, but I was kind of excited that my kids picked up their very first video game that they pooled together for us. So it was cool.
That's awesome. Right on. I'll talk a little bit. Actually, I wasn't going to talk about Extreme Exorcism because it was so quick, but I will talk about it. The cool thing I liked about that game was just the idea that the first time you play it, the first round, I guess, it's like, oh, go and collect these guns, and then you just like you end up dying, and then you realize that every single round after that, there is a ghost that is running around that basically is a replay of every single round so far. So like the first round you like kind of go down and then you jump up and then you move around and oh, you have this gun, and so then you shoot the gun, just kind of naturally or whatever. And then every single replay after that, you're like, oh crap, well, I'm gonna have to go somewhere different this time because last time I went that way and I had to shoot in order to kill the previous ghost before that, but now I have to dodge the shot that I just made last round, and so I'm gonna have to go a different way. And it gets really crazy by the like 7 or 8 rounds in. It gets pretty nuts. So you said you didn't like it, Justin? That this was Extreme Exorcism.
And this was also multiplayer. It can be, right? Because I heard that it can go.
I think you can. Yeah, I didn't play a multiplayer, but I think that's
I heard
possible.
NWR say it can go up to 4 players, and it just gets crazy 4 times faster.
Yeah.
In all fairness to it, Zach, I only played about 10 to 15 minutes. I thought it was an interesting concept. I felt like the physics were a bit odd. Like the
it was a little floaty almost.
Yeah, I felt the physics were a little bit odd. But I mean, it feels like this was the version of like a speed run almost, right? But instead of it being a speed run, it's existence run.
Mm-hmm.
Like how long can you live until you get killed in it? So I don't know. It just didn't quite grab me. There's not much of a story either, right? From what we saw, it's just kind of like here's your objective. It's pretty base. Kind of reminds me of like 1001 Spikes that way. It's like your objective is just to do this one thing, right? And sometimes I want a little bit more depth. Maybe it's just in a mood where I wanted more depth from a game, but it felt really, really thin. So
yeah, and I'm interested to see what the whole game is like, right? Like as of right now, if literally that was the only thing that it had, and it was more of like an arcade sort of beat your high score sort of thing, like I'm thinking almost like Whoa Dave or something like that, I could see maybe, but it looked like there were also some other levels and other modes that are potentially in there that could increase the value. So that was that one, and then finally the last game I want to talk about. I played a lot of games this week. Holy crap! Because it was my birthday and like my parents and like mother-in-law and like father-in-law and all that business, all like just given birthday cards and whatever. I ended up with a fair chunk of change, and it's like my dad was like, go and buy something irresponsible, and I was like, okay, you got it, Dad, right? Like
done.
Yeah, you got it. So
you talked me into it.
Yeah, and so I've been eyeing ever since Disney Infinity 2.0 came out. I was like, ooh, I freaking love Marvel movies, but I really don't want to have to pay like $75 for the starter set and $35 for every single like additional play set and all that kind of stuff. But I went to Best Buy and they'll price match Amazon, and so I was like, all right. So I ended up getting the starter pack and the Guardians pack and the Spider-Man pack, which is like. So, like, all three of the play sets, right? So, like, because you've got to have the stupid crystal figure in order to actually play the Guardians levels, you have to have the little, what they call the play set, which is like the clear figure that you put in, like, with the hexagonal base on it instead. And so I got all of that for $80 instead of what would have been, considerably more. I'm blanking on the math, like probably close to $150 instead. So I've got, I'm totally bought in now to Disney Infinity again, which is insane. But I've been playing it, and it's actually, comparing it to 1.0, it's way better. Like, the reviews back in the day were like, oh, it's a little bit better, but it's not. No, it's way better. As far as the combat in the game, specifically, I've been playing a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy level or the play set there, and it's pretty fun. I've really been enjoying it. They've got a lot more of like RPG mechanics so you like level up your characters, and they've got like skill trees and stuff like that to unlock more abilities, and it's just been really fun. I've really been enjoying it, and I've been really pleasantly surprised by it. So yeah, Disney Infinity 2.0, and I'm interested. I've been following this 3.0 stuff with the Star Wars, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll be the person who's always a year behind on Disney Infinity and saving a bunch of money in the process, but
half price.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, and now I've got, like, if I had like a ridiculous amount of figures on my desk before, now I've got all these Marvel figures on here too, right? And I'm like, jeez.
But you can't argue with Rocket Raccoon.
Oh yeah, no, Rocket Raccoon. I actually owned a few of the Disney Infinity 2.0 figures. I bought a few of them as soon as they came out, and they were sitting on my desk at work for like 6 or 8 months or whatever until I actually got around to buying the game. So as soon as I bought the game, I brought those home and have been playing a bunch of that. So yeah, Rocket Raccoon I've been playing him mostly, so it's been pretty exciting. I'm really liking it. Right on. Well, let's jump into some listener mail as we round out with the postman approaching. The postman. Let's start off. And Jesse, do you want to read the first email for us?
Sure. Alan Haas says, now that E3 is over, I'm listening to your post E3 cast now. I'm wondering if there are any non-Nintendo games you are excited about. Or I like NWR's term for that is non-Tendo.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. What do you think, Jesse? How you?
The Final Fantasy VII remake I'm interested in, but I'm also worried that every time I try to play Final Fantasy VII, I didn't get further than 2 or 3 hours. And I'm wondering if if I get this, am I still going to fall in the same hole, or am I going to actually play through it this time?
Yeah, I feel like I hit that a lot with just about any RPG, frankly. Like, it's really hard for me to get really sucked into an RPG. I'm probably anywhere between 1 and 3 hours deep in about 5 RPGs right now. So,
and the new Transformers game that's coming out on everything except for Wii U, which when that was announced, we found out that was Platinum Games, and that was so I thought that was, the quote-unquote Platinum Games new next game, and kind of got a little upset about it. But then I found out throughout the course of E3, no, they got like 4 games on the plate. One of them...
Yeah, Star Fox is one of them, yeah.
Star Fox, and I don't even remember what the other ones were. But
Jesse, can I ask a question? Did you play the Transformers games last generation. What were they called? Like War of Cybertron, or the one before that? I can't remember exactly what they were called, but they were basically like a Transformers Gears of War almost.
Yeah,
like
I think I got like halfway through like the Autobot campaign, and then I tried the Decepticon campaign. Flying around as one of Starscream's Jets squads, and it was interesting how they implemented the Z-axis with not necessarily always flying horizontally, but sometimes you actually just go literally up and down, through corridors. But again, yeah, the Gears of War-ish gameplay kind of caught up to me, and after a while, I'm like, I'm not having fun.
I played the crap out of their like online sort of multiplayer, just like a sort of deathmatch thing. There, they had some cool stuff, especially if you played as a character who was like a car specifically. You just like very quickly transform into a car and like motor into a different part of the map, and then transform and shoot, and then transform and speed off to another.
I think the game I played was the one before the one where the car forms had weapons.
Yeah,
I think it was like the first big Transformers game.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the way the graphics are animated, they rebuilt Gen 1 models of the Transformers pretty precisely to what I remember them being from the old cartoon.
That's awesome. Yeah, that game does look cool. I like that. It looks pretty awesome. Cool. How about you, Justin? Did you see anything that was any non-Nintendo games that looked cool?
Yeah, I think the only one for me that really kind of stood out, and in all fairness, I didn't watch a lot of the Microsoft or Sony stuff or any of the other ones, is actually Final Fantasy VII. And the reason being is I just had a really distinct memory of playing Final Fantasy VII when it first came out back in 1997, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first game I played on PlayStation. It was the first RPG I played, and it was so that was about the only one that really stood out for me. That's it.
Cool. By the way, the game I was thinking of, the Transformers game, was War for Cybertron. Was the one that I was thinking of. That definitely looks cool. The other one that I actually am really excited for is Star Wars Battlefront. That game looks really, really fun. It does definitely look like a sort of Battlefield, Call of Duty sort of thing in the Star Wars universe. But then they started teasing things like the spaceships and a sort of more third-person lightsaber battles, and it kind of reminded me. Did either of you play? What's it called? Dark Forces or Dark? This is a long time ago. It's like a first-person Star Wars shooter that you played as like a stormtrooper or a bounty hunter or something. This is a long time ago, but it reminded me of that game on PC that was really fun. That I played a lot back then, and
Never heard of that one.
at least I remember it being really fun. I was also really young at the time, and so any sort of shooter would have just been like, "Whoa, I get to shoot people and throw mines and stuff." Star Wars Dark Forces, Star Wars Dark Forces. There you go. That's what it was called. But it was. It just was reminding me of that, but it looks like graphically it looks amazing, and it just looks like a ton of fun, and that is probably the moment of E3 where I was like, oh my gosh, I need a PS4. Like, this game looks so fun.
Fallout 4 also looks interesting to me. I've never played any of the previous ones. In fact, I went to Twitter and asked how much of a shooter is the Fallout 3 games. I was thinking about checking them out, and everyone is saying it is kind of a shooter, but they add RPG elements to it. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's enough.
Honestly, from what I played of Fallout 3, I did not like Fallout 3. I did not get very far into it. I think that because they kind of boast this, you can go and do anything you want and whatever. You can just, I feel like sometimes when those games try to be so free form, they end up losing me. Like suck me into your narrative, or I'm gonna get bored. You know what I mean? Like I don't get excited about it if it doesn't.
I had that problem with Mass Effect.
If I get distracted and want to go and do something else, then I'm not going to enjoy it because I'm not being guided through the experience as much. Not that it's not okay, not that you can't, really, have that sort of side questy stuff and even just exploring. But it needs to be, if you're going to do that, it needs to be super easy for me to go and find the next point to move the story forward. So
yeah, which as I said earlier, the Batman game seems to have a pretty good handle on that, just because I can pick which subquest or the main quest I want to work on, and it'll point me in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So
I did download the Fallout Shelter iOS game, though I haven't touched it yet, but I downloaded it.
Yeah, I downloaded it too. I played it a little bit. It's pretty fun.
It sounds kind of like Tiny Tower-ish.
Oh, it's very Tiny Tower. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what it is. So, yeah. Any other games that you guys can think of that you're excited for that are not coming to Nintendo systems? Yeah.
I can't think of
nothing. I can't think of any other big ones that I'm super excited about. I guess No Man's Sky was the other one.
Oh, yeah, that one does look interesting too.
That looks cool. It looks kind of like, it reminds me of Minecraft a lot. Just the sort of open exploration, do whatever you want. See, and now I'm contradicting myself with that. But the difference being that that is the whole point of that game, right? Like the whole point of Minecraft is to explore and to create cool new things and that sort of stuff.
Kind of reminds me of a bigger scope version of Spore.
Yeah, I think so. Although,
except for you don't necessarily start as the microscopic level.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It had a similar premise.
Yeah. Yeah, that one looks interesting. Although I think the promise of that game is, I don't think it's going to live up to its promise. I'm just going to call that now. It's got too much. It's too big for its britches. So anyway, Justin, why don't you read the next email for us? Can you do that, sir?
I can definitely. Bear with me 1 second here. All right. Okay. So next one comes from Fotis. I think the digital event was fine. Nintendo by far has always had since the days of the NES the most first-party titles in any other platform. The problem is third parties abandonment the console. I really don't care for many third-party games, but there are some games that were announced that would do well on the Wii U, like Final Fantasy VII, Kingdom Hearts 3, South Park, and even Transformers. The artwork is amazing, and it's being done by Platinum Games. We've talked about this a little bit already. Who we know can code very well for the Wii U, and that game still isn't coming. Even with the whole Skylanders partnership, I guess it stops there with the third party support from Activision. Nintendo points out that they're approachable for partnerships, but I think they should be the ones going to the developers. They do need even more than ever, and had we had those third party titles coming, the lineup would look much better. That said, I love Nintendo games that I'm not going anywhere unless they make a Mario push mode game. Then I'm gone. So the crutch of the question is third parties.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal about this, and this is maybe just my perspective on it. Is that you say things like Final Fantasy VII would sell on Wii U, and I don't think it would, because the people who are interested in that game are much more interested in seeing a PS4/Xbox One level of graphical refresh instead of a.
I agree.
And the biggest thing, honestly, that's been holding Nintendo back for both the Wii and Wii U consoles has been, I think, the difference in processing power with the console. And so to develop something for the Xbox One and the PS4, you can kind of develop them both for the same at the same time. Whereas to develop something for the Wii U, you were like, oh, there's no way this Wii U is going to be able to run a PS4 game, so we're going to have to either create an entirely new game or downgrade it significantly and make a bunch of changes, and that's expensive to do. And if the audience isn't there,
even with early Wii games, game would be released on the PS3, 360, and PS2, and PS2 would be a downport of PS3 version, and then the Wii version seems like it would be a downport from the PS2 version. So the PS2 version, because it's still a better version than the Wii game. Which,
yeah.
And then they wondered why it doesn't sell.
Exactly. And so as long as the it's, as long as there is an extensive investment, as long as there's an investment to create a Wii U port of a game, they're going to have third-party problems. So I think that the NX, if it is indeed a home console, needs to be on par with the PS4 and the Xbox One.
And I almost think
it needs to be beyond that.
I almost think it has to be an Intel chip just to make porting games to it easy.
Yeah.
Because if you have two separate code bases, for the two separate processors, that adds extra work. Where it's almost the same development kit for right now for the other two systems.
If that is indeed what they want, right? If they actually do want to have a system that can run third-party games, I don't even know if that's really a priority for them anymore. I don't know if they may be perfectly happy to just create a system that is able that they can just support themselves with their own software, and if people want to support it with software too, that's great, and if not,
but the problem is they don't have the library to do it until year 3, and we've had 2 past consoles to prove that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it is indeed a hybrid, though, I think that we're going to be, they won't be supporting the 3DS and the Wii U because they'll just be supporting the NX, and so in theory, you would have the library grow twice as fast. But I don't know if that's necessarily even going to happen. Because that's such a risky move. Like, it's a really smart move, but also such a risky move for them to make.
We've also seen, even Nintendo had a hard time coding for HD when Wii U first started. They said, "Oh yeah, this is bigger than we thought. This is taking longer." And then what happens with even with the other 2 consoles? Their developers said, "Wow, this is taking a lot longer than we thought to get to program it to this level," and their games are getting to be 40 to 60 gigs in size. So Nintendo is going to, if the NX will be in par with PS4, Xbox One, they're going to have to not only relearn how to do HD, but to that level of fidelity. It'll take them a while to get used to that.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Justin? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, does Nintendo need third-party games? Yes. However, I think what they've done instead, like traditionally I would say yes. However, I think what they've done instead is they have pushed that time and energy into their indie developer scene, which I think is actually creating a better level of games that we as a marketplace are enjoying. So I'm actually encouraged by what they're doing. Would I like to see more third-party games? Sort of, but I mean, I think of this question came in earlier this week. I went to my library and I looked at the third-party games that I have for my Wii U, and here they are. You ready? It's Batman Arkham, and I have Assassin's Creed 3,
which were both basically launch titles, weren't they?
Which were launch titles, and they were games from other consoles that were ported, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, here's the thing: if you buy Nintendo, you're not buying Nintendo for third-party games. You're buying Nintendo for Nintendo games, right? You're buying it for Zelda. You're buying it for, you're buying it for Link. You're buying it for Metroid. You're buying it for Animal Crossing. That's kind of the way they work. But I do enjoy the fact that in recognizing that they didn't have the third-party support, they went into their indie scene. Mm-hmm. And did it there. Are there occasionally times where I'm like, man, I wish we got that game? Sure, there are. but I'm also more than happy to be like, I don't want to be compromising the fact that I'm not getting a Mario, if that makes sense. Like, I'm more, and I think especially when I think of, what third-party games would I want, that are multi-platform games on my Wii U. I think of stuff like, okay, Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. Are those games I'm really going to be able to play with my kids around?
Mm-hmm.
No. Right? So, I mean, I always root this back to what does your gaming situation look like? For me, I love Nintendo products. I'm not disappointed that with third parties, and I love the fact they're doing more with indies. And I know that in those things, all of those are family friendly. Those are important things to me.
And really, what it comes down to, like, is that Nintendo is not. They're not mass appeal to the same level that Sony and Microsoft are, right? Like, Nintendo is catering to a very specific audience, and they are not as successful in the market as Sony and Microsoft are as a result, right? Like, they're catering to a different market. But if you look at attach rates for the Wii U, it's nuts. Like, Mario Kart 8 is at what, like a 50% attach rate or something like that. That means that out of every 10 people that bought a Wii U, 5 of them bought Mario Kart. Like, that is insane number of attach rate. And for Splatoon to have 1 million copies, how many Wii U's have been sold? 10 million, something like that.
Just about to try to look that up.
Like to think in 1 in 10 Wii U owners has purchased Splatoon. A 10% attach rate already, like less than a month into the game's life. If that 10, I'm thinking it's around 10 million, but yeah, that's craziness.
Yeah,
as far as attach rate goes.
Nintendo Japan site shows 9.5 million units as of fiscal year end.
Yeah, so 10% of Wii U owners.
So they're
more than 10%.
So they're probably over 10 million by now, since this is almost 3 months later.
Yeah. So Nintendo is catering to a very niche crowd, but that crowd is extremely passionate about their games and is buying them anytime they come out. So I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. Anyways, any other thoughts on that before we move on to? Do we want to push these other 2 emails? We're kind of trying to keep these shows.
Yeah, I think we push them.
We can push them till next week. So sorry, yeah. Holden and Chris. We'll read your guys' emails next week. We cross our hearts. Any shout outs, Justin, as we close out the episode this week?
No shout outs, but we had some winners on our digital, right? Our giveaway?
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you who entered, I don't think we need to necessarily. Do you want to read them out, the winners?
No, I think read them out. Just that you probably know who you are, and
yeah, you know who you are, and we're going to be sending out more emails as well. Basically, what we're doing is we're sending a few at a time, and then letting people give us their preference on the game, and then we'll send those codes out, and we'll be contacting more people from that contest. So that contest is all wrapped up, and so check your emails within the next few days, and we'll get that information out to all of you for sure. Also, big thanks.
We have more giveaways coming up too, by the way.
Yes, we do. Also, big thanks again to Brett Babin. I got my Jigglypuff in the mail, and you are a good man, sir. It is right up on my shelf and staring at me with its big blue eyes. Thank you again. So, right on. So, and thank you to everybody listening to the show this week. And you can, of course, find us at vgtribune.com. You can also find us on all of the social medias at Nintendo Dads. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Email us at nintendodads@gmail.com, twitch.tv/nintendodads. And of course, that's where you can see our beautiful faces. YouTube as well is where you can find the recordings of our show. So head over there and search for Nintendo Dads on YouTube. You can call in and leave us a voicemail at 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music throughout the show, as well as to Carter Johnson for our amazing artwork. You can check out her artwork at megacarter.tumblr.com. And please, if you want to change the world, go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. And we will spread the Nintendo Dads message around. Of course, also, you can check us out at Stitcher and, like I said earlier, at vgtribune.com. Justin, Jesse, give you guys the final word. Anything as we head out tonight?
Play more games.
Indeed. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Word.
Thank you for listening into Nintendo Dads.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. What's that clock sitting at? 90 minutes?
Something like